minutes ago. Okay, let's start. Okay, recording? Okay. Hi, welcome to the Digital Hollywood Conference, and we're discussing OTT and monetization strategies. And so first I want to have the panelists introduce themselves. We'll start with Gaza.
Hi, I'm Ben Gans, founder of Vigo Pictures, 360 agency, digital teams on demand for networks, record labels, brands, you name it.
Ty?
Oh, greetings.
You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Ty Green, founder of the Missing Channel Media Group, as well as My Choice, which is a contextual marketplace for buying what you see in media instantly and having items delivered to your home.
Good afternoon. My name is Phoenix Gonzalez. I'm the president and co-founder of Dot Studio Pro. We are an over-the-top distribution platform that gives clients like the Minnesota Vikings and Lifetime the ability to go direct to consumer on their own branded applications like Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. We also, I'm not sure whose mic that is, we also help our clients syndicate subsets of their content to platforms like Zumo and Pluto and the likes of. So we're an end-to-end solution for ad serving, subscription, transactions, as well as syndication and OTT. Thank you.
Cool. So we've had this panel before with you guys. We were last year here with you guys, and we were talking about the same things. So a lot of the industry has been changing a lot with social media becoming a little bit more, changing how it is doing. A lot of things have been happening with government control over social media and how it's doing. And so I want to get your opinions on what are some of the new things that are coming, new things that we need to look at as far as what's happening in social media as far as over-the-top television, how it relates to that. Ty, you want to go first?
I think with all the data, not breaches, but all of the data releases or loose data from all your typical large incumbents, and the way laws have changed in Europe, and I think they will change here as far as social media. I think it's going to be a hardcore consumer opt-in, having to say, yes, we agree to release everything or components of that, as opposed to just a sign here to release everything to us. I can see that being the play, especially OTT.
When it comes to social media, I mean, obviously, I'm a co-founder of an OTT platform, so I've been saying this for many years. Social media is great for you to build, the actual or seed the conversation with the audience. But when it comes to building a brand and actually owning your audience, social media is not the place to do that. I think that if you look at what's happened over the years with demonetization inside of YouTube, as well as freedom of speech being cut off on platforms like Facebook, people's channels being shut off without any regard for the amount of work and money they put into building their brands, I think it's really important to use those platforms exactly as you should. Seed the conversation and drive the audience somewhere else.
Yeah, I feel like a lot has changed since we were here last fall. Last fall was Instagram, peak Instagram. It was influencer mania. There's still a lot of money floating around, and I feel like the VC money has kind of started to say, hey, how are we making money? So I feel like a lot of paywalls have gone up as far as OT platforms are concerned.
So another thing that's happened in this industry is that it's kind of changing from the big boys, like you've had YouTube and Vimeo and some of these bigger boys platforms, broadcasting platforms. We went from broadcaster platforms of television, traditional television, to the YouTube platforms. But now with opening up to channels like what Ty does with connecting directly onto Apple TV and Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, going directly to those platforms, smaller people going directly to those platforms, it's kind of taken away from YouTube. And like you pointed out with YouTube cutting people off, just recently YouTube announced that anybody who has somebody who's under 18, no longer can they accept chats or comments on those networks, which cut those people's platforms down to nothing, because if you can't chat and if you don't have the interaction, then that YouTube channel becomes less subscribable. So YouTube is killing off some of their people, but then also the channels like what Ty is doing and stuff like that, bringing up into the platform. So I want to kind of get your opinions on where you think the industry is going as far as going away from YouTube and onto these micro networks, I'm calling them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I like I said, I own an OTT platform. I see, if you look at the digital industry when it comes to OTT, it's 15 years old. It's very young. Bright Cove was the entry into people being able to get their content only online. So, in 2004 through 2006, the idea was I need to get my content online. And at that time, YouTube was starting to kind of get its entry into the space. So the studios were kind of at war with YouTube because the studios were investing all this money in getting their content directly to their consumers. At the same time, YouTube was pulling all that audience into the YouTube platform. So if you look at where we're at now, I think even though we're in like that adolescent stage of OTT and really looking at super distribution to your end consumer, I think that it is important for people to think about how they're building their brands. I hear customers say a lot, I want to be everywhere. Being everywhere means that you have to have a large marketing team. You have to have over $1 million a year in ad spend or to be able to drive audience and engagement. And I think you really have to think about that strategy. If you have a library of content, you definitely should be monetizing it. And you should be looking at things like syndication. You should be looking at things like starting in Roku and launching a channel in Roku. And really looking at what is that kind of tear down strategy to start there and really grow from there. Brands really have an opportunity to communicate directly with their audiences now. It isn't easy though. It's people who think that it's easy to launch and build an audience and monetize. It's not. It's a real job, and it can be lucrative, but it has to come with the idea of strategy and having your content everywhere, not just on your owned and operated.
You have anything to say, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched some very big OTT platforms go away, supported by a less staff, and I think what it came down to in a couple of cases was the content on it just wasn't that good, even if supported by all the marketing budget in the world. It wasn't enough, and they kind of, came out of the gate too early, and now there's nothing left, and so it's back to the basics. So if you're going to launch and you're going to put money behind it, make sure your content is something people actually want to watch.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I come from the TV side of, so my first deal was with Comcast, and then using the OTT channels as marketing tools, kind of how individuals used social media to launch their influence to go into the OTT. So I kind of went backwards. I did that because the money is there on TV. I mean, we just had upfronts 2 weeks ago in New York City, and almost all of our inventory on everything we did very well. So now when I go talk to advertisers about doing digital, it's a layup. It's not, since they're already buying on TV.
So
Right.
for the audience, a layup is packaging, right? You're
Yeah.
looking at the different windows.
Yes.
And saying, I think a lot of people don't realize when you're selling for the mobile, you're selling for web, you're selling for OTT, you're selling for linear, and it's really, you've actually nailed it on its head in terms of really looking at where the strongest market is. The rest of it's really a giveaway.
Yes.
Until you grow the brand in other places.
Correct. I mean, I do a Comcast, just a certain part of the country. I can get a $25, $35 CPM, which is a nice chunk of change on a 22-minute TV show. And then we just did a deal inside of 50 of the 50 international airports in the United States, in their international terminals, putting up things, and we're doing like almost a $75 CPM. So for me, OTT and digital is the,
Right.
that's the giveaway. It's like, okay, we'll get a $2 or $3 CPM. All right, okay, we get that reach. But I just kind of went backwards.
What I think is interesting, though, is who's dictating all those dollars. And I've kind of learned this recently. It's the media buyers, right? Mm-hmm. They still have their old decks they're recycling forever and forever. And who's at the top of that? Your TV people. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when I was calculating, I think we had like a pretty good debate about it last time. You're like, don't worry, TV money's not going anywhere. And it's not, because that's the old way of doing things. And it's really easy to associate a brand with a TV show. Everyone knows a TV show, and it's really easy for you to pitch a brand and be like, don't you want your product aligned with The Voice or something like that?
I mean, so the new fronts were 3 weeks ago, and then the upfronts ours was 2 weeks ago. And, I go by the upfronts, you kind of look around different ones. Does everyone know what the upfronts and new fronts are? Anyone not know what that is?
Why don't you explain to us?
All right, so the upfronts are where television shows have a big, huge meeting and invite several brands and advertisers to come and look at all of their look at all their stuff that you can buy, their inventory. The new fronts are the digital version of that, which takes place sometime a week before in New York City, or depends where. So ABC, NBC, they all have their own different things. Well, we were able to partner with another entity and built out our book, and then literally on the phone, smiling and dialing with all these different brand managers and media buyers, like physical printing of books of all of our shows, and this is where they're displaying, and this is how it's going to go. And then now we're getting phone calls from our shows, from that exercise 2 weeks ago, saying, hey, tell us this show. What does this look like? How does this work? I have a colleague of mine right here in the audience who we put one of her shows, because we took on one of her shows, and now we've gotten 3 calls this week from media buyers saying, we would like to buy that inventory in that show. We haven't even produced the show.
Wow.
Wow.
But we'll work that out. We'll do a corporate partnership. We'll do, They want category exclusivity. We're doing the whole thing, and so we do a lot of. And then for the media, the OTT play, to me it'll be an easier layup, I think.
Yeah. So let's talk about ad buyers, media buyers, because that's something that is
The money.
that is the money, and that's what makes it all happen.
It's a dark secret, too.
I have a show. I want to put it on a platform. So what do? Do I go out to my friends and family and do like a Kickstarter campaign and try to get the cleaners from down the street to give me ads, or do I hire an ad buyer? And how do you hire an ad buyer?
Well, it's a chicken before the egg scenario, because you can't. Media buyers aren't going to give you attention if you don't have an audience. They're buying audience. They're buying eyeballs. Okay, so you need to invest. You have to grow your audience before you can even go to a media buyer and say, "Hey, these are my people. They're special because X, Y, and Z."
Or if you have a bunch of influencers that still have relevance, that human beings want to actually look at, and you attach them to your programming, then you can leverage that.
Well, that's what I meant when it started a Kickstarter. So you start a Kickstarter campaign type of thing, put your brand out there, put your thing out there, get users, and show them. Then you can show that you have users, and then you can go to. So how do you? But you, so I have a show. I produced a 24-minute show, so I can put 5 30-second ads on it.
But where are you putting that show?
Well, that's.
I mean, if
It
you
is
don't
paid
have
for.
somewhere to put the show, then nobody's going to put any ads anywhere.
Right.
But the reality is, you have to start with programmatic. If you don't have an audience, you have to start with programmatic, and that means that you need to be on a platform that's going to give you the ability to get your content out there, and you're going to make dollars through programmatic. And as your eyeballs grow and your impressions grow, you can then start to look at media buyers and getting direct deals from programmatic companies who will say, hey, this content is trending. Give us a deck on it. We want to take it out for direct deals. These are all the types of things that happen when you've distributed the content. So creating a show is great, and maybe getting a brand partner as a sponsorship for creating the show, if you have the right talent or influencers involved, is one thing. But monetizing it on the back end, where you want your evergreen money to come from, is really a strategy. And the strategy is, how many places can I get it? How many of those places are ad supported? What kind of CPMs am I going to see? You're going to start out sometimes with there are ad partners in the programmatic world who will start with a $2 CPM as of the floor. What we're seeing now is a $15 CPM once you start to grow.
Which is good.
And that's great. And we see clients now who are starting to get a lot of traffic getting $40 CPMs. But it's a pattern. It's a growth pattern. It doesn't start out overnight. You're starting out at around $2. You're going to get yourself up to 12 to 15, and then from there you're going to grow to the $40 CPM. But it's work.
It is work.
Yeah.
Or like I just learned in this last panel, it's 6 cents per hour streaming on Amazon. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah, and it's about $40 to $60 user acquisition to actually capture an eyeball on Amazon on top of that
Well,
6
yeah.
cents.
Well, if you remember, before they changed the rules on YouTube, it was for every 10,000 subscribers, depending on what deal you did, it was anywhere from 60 cents, 50 cents to $6 for every 10,000 subscribers. And then they changed the rules, and now they make it even harder. I don't know what six cents, huh? Wow.
That's what I heard.
like a-
And they were attorneys.
It's 6 cents an hour, and it depends on how many people watch your content. It goes up to 10 cents if it's more than 500,000 minutes. And they changed this rule April 1st because filmmakers are upset. I'm a small filmmaker. So I don't care.
That
Okay.
goes back to the conversation around syndication.
Yes.
Get your content everywhere. Don't think that, oh my God, I gotta hold it and I gotta own it and I just, for my audience.
Well,
Forget
we
about
ju-
that.
We
So-
just did a deal with a company called Boomplay. You all may want to check it out. Boomplay is the Spotify, iTunes of Africa. Chinese-owned mobile company. They're in 7+ countries right now, growing. They just raised $20 million, and they're doing video as well as video on demand, as well as music. They are the Spotify-ish of with video of Africa right now.
Yeah.
It's both. It's both.
So you brought up a good point in when you said get everything out there.
Yes.
So a lot of the networks are all scrambling for content, and they all want the content for them. So a lot of them are saying, sign an exclusive deal with us. Sign an exclusive deal. So you're just on our platform, and we'll do this and this for you. And I hear that from filmmakers and from people creating shows and stuff like that. So what do you think about that? Thing about the thing of creating an exclusive for a network and getting more energy from them, opposed to shotgunning it out there and having to do most of the marketing yourself.
I think I used to be a filmmaker before I switched to the business side, the money side, and I think as a filmmaker, if I had a product, I would treat it like a asset, and I would literally window it myself every 6 months to different platforms. Who's going to give me the best bang for my buck? One platform, studio or whomever, are you going to give me some money, or brand? Let's make this content, and we will give you the right to window it on these platforms in these territories for this period of time, and then after that, we window it here. So I would literally.
So you do an exclusive 6-month thing,
or 6 month or 9 month, depending on.
but you would do an exclusive. You
Oh, absolutely. I would do an exclusive per platform, per territory. So the filmmaker needs to think like a syndicator, and their asset has value that they can leverage on different platforms in different territories simultaneously. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's about finding, for filmmakers, they need support in finding a good legal team or
Yeah.
lawyer who understands windowing. I work with a lot of clients who create premium content and do 90-day windows on the MVPD side. And then from there, they have the ability to have the rights revert back to them, so they can now start looking at carving out their strategy for where else they want to syndicate it. I don't think that it's a one-size-fits-all whatsoever, as you were saying.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to find the right people to work with you. Always hire people that are smarter than you.
So that
Surround
brings-
yourself with lawyers.
Yeah, so that brings me to another point. So I was at American Film Market, and I did a survey with a lot of the people I talked to, and I asked them, what is the number one question that you ask the filmmakers, and I asked filmmakers, what's the number one question you heard, and a lot of them said, as you said, who's on your team? Because I think that was the number one question that was asked. Who's on your team? So what makes up a team? You said legal. What are the team people? Who did you have on your team? You should be sales, legal. What are the team members you need to hire out? Most important. Not all of them, because there's a lot of them, but who's the most important?
That's a loaded question. That goes all the way from pre-production to distribution. I work with a production company who is brokering a deal with a sales agent right now, and they came to me and they said, well, we want to be able to also sell it on our own OTT, and we also want to be able to do syndication. So they brought me in to consult with them, and we worked with their sales agent to basically carve out that they would retain the rights on their owned and operated to monetize it through through subscriptions and then windowing on ad supported, and that they would also be able to collaborate with the sales agent and bring forth syndication opportunities that the sales agent may not have had access to. So I think one, hiring a strong team whose names talent, whether it's your producer, your director, your actors. Then from there, when you get to post-production, hiring really great editors that also have some name recognition. I mean, it's all about name now. And then when you get to distribution, it's really hiring sales agents and getting with companies that can help you with syndication outside of your owned and operated, and making sure that you have a good legal team that understands digital contracts nowadays.
You know who else always asks this question is investment bankers. And I've been going through the acquisition process, and I've learned a lot. And what you need to think about is just because we're in a creative doesn't mean we're not a business. A business is business. And they're not just buying the president, the entrepreneur. They're buying a team, a leadership team. So that's your operations, just like any other thing, whether it's a factory or you're making IP or whatever. Your operations, marketing, sales, CFO is a big one, just your standard business chief executives.
I agree with what they both said. I think it's radically important, because I have this tech whole side, to have strong technology people that can create and extract other value from that, and lawyers who understand international, especially international contracts as far as how to move things around. And since a lot of our content is going into the whole blockchain space, really the tech. I mean, legal, yes, but really the tech who understands how you're going to have distributed things in different places and how to monetize and pick up things in different currencies around the world. And for us.
Okay.
That's so true.
Okay, so another question is, in past years you've noticed that I don't know if you remember, but I'm the big metadata guy. I believe in metadata. I believe in data, and so let's talk about metadata for a minute. How, metadata is something that people don't realize that has an extremely high value content. So what do you see as far as how to monetize metadata and how to collect metadata and stuff like that?
That's actually interesting. Our company has just released a press release last week about search and indexing. So if we think of the internet was SEO, everything is SEO when it comes to the internet. Well, when you look at the connected television world, there hadn't been a standard yet for how are you taking all this metadata and we're trying to communicate back with the ad providers, so it's making sure all the right macros are being sent back. But when you start looking at Alexa and Roku Voice and Google Voice, it's really thinking about how is my metadata going to bring value to my content to acquire more audience. So Roku actually invested in search and indexing and really being able to take all the metadata that we house as a company and pass through to them and be able to make it indexable. And what that means is when an end user is searching for an actor's name or for food or any keyword, your content, no matter where it lives, whether it's because you've licensed it to Hulu or you've ad supported it to Roku channel or it's on your channel, it's all that metadata is going to make sure that your content rises to the top when the end consumer is searching. I think we're at the beginning of that trend. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Amazon saw like a 200% spike in Alexa for search over the last couple of months when it comes to actual search and indexing of metadata. So I think metadata is going to become something quite valuable when it comes to the search and indexing of your content so that end users can find it. There's somebody who...
I have a question there?
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up on your question because I want to know a little bit more about this, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. But right now today, if I search for, make up a name, Clint Eastwood. If I search for Clint Eastwood on Roku, it feels to me as though I'm still not getting but a small percentage of the possible results.
You're 100% right. And
so if I'm the guy who owns a particular Clint Eastwood television series or something, is it on me to meet that? Is there an API that I'm not, that like 85% of the players are not adhering to?
So what's happened is that most people don't. So as a platform provider, I've gotten insight into it. So a lot of the platforms, just like people like Bright Cove was built in 2004, and they weren't built for OTT. They were built for the, for the web.
They just bought Kaltura or Ooyala.
Ooyala, they bought a part of Ooyala. But
Ooyala.
the reality is that nobody really was thinking about all the metadata that Gracenote and FilmTrack and all these places are helping companies actually build metadata libraries with. So nobody was prepared for it. So a lot of these tech providers haven't figured out how to do the search and index, because when your application gets submitted or your syndication fees get submitted, search and index should be a part of that. It should automatically be a part of that so that all of your metadata is working for you. And why is it working for you? Because instead of spending ad dollars at $60 to $40 inside of Amazon, or $2.50 upwards, inside of Roku for user acquisition, your metadata should actually be driving back audience to you. Most people aren't search and index yet, and most of the platforms don't even know how to do it. Everybody's struggling with it. There are a few who have figured it out, but like I said, we're at the beginning of that. It's Roku and all of those players now communicating with all the tech platforms so that all of that metadata actually funnels through correctly into these platforms, so that you're getting more visibility for your titles.
And
So-
when I was saying, Amazon actually just purchased a search company and have begun integrating it into their whole schema for film and product also. So it's, Amazon's getting into search, Google's getting into streaming and cloud. So it's
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, we showed our clients, we launched Pocket Watch, which is a kids app. It's MCN out of YouTube. When we launched them on Amazon and they searched for their channel, Hulu and Amazon came up because they already distributed the content there, but they didn't. And they were like, well, wait a second, how come we're not showing up? Because we need to search and index you. As soon as we search and index them, now you see them right alongside. So they're now getting visibility for the audience to be able to go directly to them versus Hulu or Amazon to watch the content, which in the end,
get more money.
you get more audience as well. We
Yes.
actually are tracking some data right now, because the next part of that is making sure that all the right data is being collected back against that search and indexing. And we're seeing that clients who are spending on places like Roku for advertising, against, if we put search and index alongside that, are actually seeing where they were spending maybe 60 cents to $2.50 per user acquisition, are seeing sometimes as low as 10 cents per acquisition, and that's on search and index. So it's really, we're at the beginning of it, but it's going to be super important. And people who invested in metadata libraries, they're going to win.
Yeah, I'm super bullish on it. I actually just launched a product where we go to companies and we optimize their YouTube. Because don't forget, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. You pay all this money for SEO, no one's doing it for YouTube. So what we're doing is going back retroactively and optimizing their YouTube videos. And now
It's a lot of work.
Huh?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Another thing I want to say about metadata is, what feeds the AI revolution? Data and metadata. So the more you have, it's going to be like gold. Snatch as much up as you can.
Very cool. So let's change the subject to affiliate programs. So,
That's syndication in my world. That's about it.
syndication. Well,
Yeah, me too.
how do you? Well, one of the ways that a lot of our clients look to gain users is to create alliances with other programs, other networks, other OTT platforms to try to share users, to build their users. And I've known that in the past, affiliate programs were pretty prevalent and pretty used. And now they've kind of taken a little bit of back. They've kind of taken a little bit of back. They've taken a little hit. They've not been as popular. Why is that? And are they still relevant? And what are they all about?
Fraud, right? I've heard there's a lot of fraud. Vice went through it. It's going around a lot.
I mean, when it comes to the OTT world, how are you going to track monetization when we're still figuring out you get $2 CPM here, $10 CPM here, $60 CPM, it's the reporting on that. There's no way that you could, in the OTT space, work with affiliates correctly, because usually, if you look at Lead Dino, who's an affiliate program, they're tracking the sale of something to say this affiliate gets this much. Well, in the programmatic world, the data is not readily available the same way as e-commerce for people to be able to say, okay, this piece of content made $2.50. That's not going to come for a quarter. Like usually reporting comes every quarter, and it's going to be all across the board, different rates. So there's no way in the OTT space to do affiliate from that perspective.
Maybe one day when you can click on something on your OTT platform.
Well, I mean, Amazon, in terms of Amazon's,
Not Alexa.
not Alexa,
Fires.
not Fire. It's the shoppable content.
Prime.
Yeah, so
Prime.
they have their, their whole Amazon X-Ray. That's what it is. So Amazon X-Ray, maybe one day, because Amazon X-Ray, it's an HTML5 layer for anybody who doesn't know, which is basically a shoppable video or cast information that you can click a button, and at the bottom of the screen, you're going to get additional metadata. So it's visualized metadata. A lot more platforms are trying to figure out how to do that. There are a lot of companies out there who do it, like Curve and Source Digital. I mean, there's a ton of companies who are doing that. So maybe eventually there's going to be an opportunity for that, but not at this stage in the OTT space.
That's what My Choice is building right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Is what?
All video on any platform shoppable from your mobile.
So you're saying second screen experience?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you should look at Curve. You should look at Source Digital.
Looked at them.
Look at Shoppable. There's a bunch of them that are doing it right now.
But
Instagram.
Instagram.
Those are all doing it primarily on digital video.
They're doing it for OTT and second screen experiences with listening, with detection, audio detection.
Okay, so let's move on to another subject. So, OTT, some of the new things coming out in OTT have in new ways of producing OTT. A lot of people are saying, oh, we're getting away from the old platforms of shooting with our iPhones and shooting with low end stuff, because people are recognizing the differences between, and there's a lot of people out there saying, oh no, I'm going to shoot with my iPhone and my iPad and I'll be able to produce a show. And a lot of people are saying, well, you need to really build a professional studio and you really need to build up this stuff. What do you think about that? Do you think you can still produce a show with an Android or iOS device and have it be sellable?
I don't think that's the question. There's no right answer to that. But
Yeah.
what as far as trends going, I think that where OTT is different than linear is that it's going to be brand supported. Mark my words, right? And I always use this example, but like the activation we did with Lyft and Kevin Hart, where he did an undercover prank show in a Lyft. It wasn't in your face. He just happened to be riding a Lyft. I think that will explode on OTT, whereas the networks are going to take longer.
Mm-hmm. That was a good ad. That was a good campaign.
Yeah.
I saw that.
That was high definition, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there was a decent budget on it. So, but I say decent as opposed to not an iPhone. Like it was a hidden camera show. So how much could you do? It's you got GoPros and mics. But yeah,
But I think you could still do a show like that on GoPro and iPhones or Android phones. If you're getting 720p off your phone, if you can, I think you can shoot.
Depends on your movement, though. How much movement and action you have as well.
Yeah, I think you can shoot a full-on feature even with the right iPhones. And I was at NAB and they had all these devices, and I was like, okay, if you want to do it, it depends on your budget and where you're at. Do you need a big studio? No. Do you need a 10 by 10, 20 by 20 room to, especially when you get down to editing? No, you don't need a bunch of stuff.
yeah. Don't get caught up. Don't overthink this question ever. Like, do it for what you can do it for, and if it's good, it'll be good.
Guerrilla filmmaking.
And if you can afford it, spend the money
There you go.
because you have to give it back if you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have. How much time do we have? More time? What?
Open it up to the audience?
Open it up to the audience, yeah? Anyone in the audience have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to just add a little bit. Like, don't you feel though that when there's so much content that's out there, the ones that look the best, sound the best, have the best editing, sound quality, lighting, those are the ones usually get pushed up to the top of the tiers. You know, you can shoot.
What tiers though?
Like, you know, that's where you're getting the most hits. You're possibly getting.
So on
you know,
YouTube?
Something. Well, beyond YouTube, I'm saying like you can pitch it on YouTube, and if someone sees something that's high quality, like how you shoot, now you get an offer from a network or say Hulu or Netflix wants a piece of that pie as well. Where if you shoot something that's not so high quality, some of that stuff doesn't get passed on a little bit. I mean, it depends on how you shoot, I think. Don't you?
No, I mean I disagree.
Yeah.
So, for instance, say you make a really funny show on iPhone, and then it's a development exec. You probably get the development process goes like this: like you make a cool video on iPhone, it goes on YouTube. Someone from a production company sees it. They have a development team. They take your show into development. Then they come and do a sizzle, and they use their cameras. Then it goes to presentation and pilot. And once it gets to the network level, it's full on production.
Oh.
So, if that's you got to think, what's your end goal for your content?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to put content on a lot of platforms at once?
Yeah,
That
that's
makes
called
sense.
that's called syndication. Well, there's you can put it through your owned and operated. So literally, like a company like mine, or there's a lot of companies that do it. You can launch on web, iOS, Android, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Android
Xbox.
television, Xbox, PS4, LG, Samsung. I mean, you can launch your app.
Network too.
MVPDs, so let's talk about that in a second. So there's a bunch of platforms that you can launch yourself on from an OTT perspective, which are direct to consumer, that are your brand, okay, that you're marketing. Then you also can take a subset of your content, which is part of your library or the entire library, if it gets approved by places like the Roku channel and Xumo and Pluto and Comcast Xfinity, and they will take subsets of your content as an MRSS feed versus an actual application, and they will take your content and monetize it for you and share back revenue with you. Same thing with the MVPDs. You can go to there's a lot of linear companies like Amagi. Amagi can get you into different MVPDs. There's Frequency, there's Whirl. They can get you into the MVPD so that you can now look at how do I do my linear strategy, which is not just taking the VOD assets and sending them to platforms to monetize, but taking linear feeds of your content, which is taking a whole playlist of content that's VOD, compressing it together into a linear 24-hour feed, and delivering that out so that other platforms can monetize it for you again. So there's multiple ways for you to make money off of the asset.
Once you put it out there the first time, is it still copyrighted and everything? In other words, once you put it online, if it's copyrighted.
Well, you don't give away your copy. You don't
No.
give away
You're
your
never
rights.
giving away your copyright. You're
Never.
making ad revenue off of your
Yeah.
content. And most of these OTT platforms, I think that's a misconception that your content's going to get ripped. It's a TV. How's it going to get ripped? When you put it on the web, maybe, yeah. But if you're working with the right technology provider, then you're going to make sure that they have things like URL signing and content encryption. So that-
Watermarks.
yeah, watermarks, all these types of things so that your content is safe.
So, yes, sir.
I was really curious to follow up, those of you who've dealt with Roku and the Fire Stick and stuff like that. So, let's say, and I don't, I'm just really curious about how this business works. Let's say I have an ad-supported OTT service, like a Shout Factory or like
Yeah.
or whatever. I take it to Roku, and you were talking about CPMs, and let's say it's a $2 CPM.
Yeah.
How, speaking in ranges, don't violate any NDAs. I'm just curious, like how much of that does the platform, like Roku or the Fire Stick or whatever, keep?
Okay, so it depends on how you're working with the platform. So let's talk about if you're delivering your owned and operated, okay? So those are when I go to Roku, I install Shout Factory,
Yeah.
okay? I'm delivering ads into my Shout Factory application through my provider,
Right.
okay? Or through my ad partners. If I'm working.
Some programmatic that you've set up.
Exactly. So now if there's a technology partner in the middle of that delivery because they're bringing the ads,
They get
there's a
piece.
rev share.
They get
Let's
a
say
piece.
70-30. You're making 70 and they're making 30. Outside of that ad inventory that's being delivered into your network, Shout Factory, if that's what it is, Roku also reserves the right to fill 30% of your inventory on your application.
So they don't take an ad share, they take an inventory share.
They
Correct.
they
Yes.
actually reserve the right to deliver 30% of the inventory on your channel. Okay? Now, if you work with the Roku channel, which is different from your own app, then Roku's going to take their, let's say, 60-40 on the content, and then if you're working, because you have to work with an aggregator nowadays to get into Roku channel, then your aggregator is going to say, okay, well, you're going to make 70% of after Roku takes it, and we're going to take 30% or 60%, 40%, whatever your deal is with them. So that's how that gets broken down from an ad perspective.
That was great. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And don't forget, if you want to spend the money and develop your own app, you can take 100% of it.
Yeah.
But then you have to drive all the traffic, and so you have to figure
Well,
out what
no,
your cost-
because if you're delivering your own app into Roku, Roku still reserves the right to take 30% of your inventory.
Well, what if I do it on iOS and I make them pay through the web?
Until Apple gets pissed off at you.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're still going to be sharing revenue, because if you build the app, you still need a technology partner to get you there, okay, into the application.
I mean,
because you need,
I could pay them. I don't have to share.
you have to pay them, but you still have to pay a CPM for using their ad platform. So I'm going to be completely frank. You use my technology. We're going to give you access to our ad partners like Freewheel, SpotX, and the rest of them. You're going to make 70% of the revenue. We're going to make 30%. If you come to me and say I have my own ads, I'm going to say great. You're using my ads infrastructure. I'm going to take 60 cents per CPM. It's the same thing across the board with everyone. If you're using a company for recommendations, they're going to take an 80 cent or a $1.25 CPM. So you're always going to be sharing ad revenue. You're never going to keep the lion's share. But if you bring your own ads, you can broker your own deals. And instead of saying, oh, well, I'm just getting programmatic at $2 or $15, if you go out and broker a deal with an ad, with a brand or an ad partner, you could be doing $25 to $40 to $60 to $100 CPM. And then you're paying 60 cents CPM per thousand to the technology platform because they're passing the ads through for you. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Does this apply, thank you for the wonderful information, does this apply also for short films?
Well,
On what distribution play?
yeah. Where are you trying to deliver your short films?
All of the above.
Most of the platforms aren't looking for short form.
So they're not, okay. It was just a question.
And I'll tell you why, though. Because TV is a lean back experience. So users are binge watching or they're leaning back. They're not mobile. If you're dealing with mobile short forms, and that's why Jeffrey Katzenberg and Fiction Riot, platforms like that are now coming out and launching, they're focusing more on short form because it's snackable content.
Yeah, Meg Whitman,
Yeah.
they just did the thing.
Yeah. So, but if you're looking at short form as a means of what's your means of distribution? OTT is a lean back experience. All of the platforms are looking for long form, episodic, because the more time spent on the piece of content, every 10 minutes of video should be monetized with ads.
Right. Got it, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. No questions?
But what you could do is go out to a brand and then put Pepsi in every shot, and maybe you could make it whatever length you want.
There you go. That's true too.
Product placement, we love it. Love
Big
product
fan.
placement. Big fan. Big
Yeah.
fan.
Okay, so as we wrap up, maybe we'll just come back to the panel and get one comment from them on what do you think the future of OTT is going,
Of OTT?
or what do you think?
Like, do you guys think that the term OTT is going to start to go away, kind of?
I mean,
I mean,
it's
just
over the
CDN.
top.
I just any IP connected device.
CDN, OTT, whatever you want to say.
But, you know,
No,
it's like
it's
when I watch
CTV.
Fox Now, is that OTT?
Depends on what you're watching.
I mean, it's
on.
all going back in.
No?
It's
What are you watching
It's all going
on?
back into
Yeah, a
television.
TV. But I just think that, like, this is personal. There's all these devices and times and cameras. Like, it's all just kind of come out in the wash, and no one's going to really care. It's like, what are you watching? How long are you watching it for? Most importantly, think about what networks are, okay? Like, they're not there to make art. They deliver eyeballs to brands. That's literally it. Maybe brands cut out the middleman. I don't know what's going to happen. But the audience is the product.
Oh, there was a question.
No? Question back there?
Just wanted to get the panelist's opinion, because you were just talking about sort of OTT being a lean back experience. I wanted your opinion on platforms that are actually trying to build content around lean in experiences, so interactive content like Facebook watching some game shows and things like that. So just wanted your opinion on kind of like the direction of that in terms of content growth and content evolution from a format perspective.
Can you repeat that before you answer?
Yeah, so you're saying basically like on Facebook Watch and places like that, what's the future of monetization or content? Oh, I don't know. I don't spend enough time in that world. I just know that, I have my own bias that social media is not the place to make money. I mean, it is for some people, but it always dries up. So I have no idea. Do you have an answer for that? Do you guys? I don't know.
I think social media.
Do you have a question?
Hold on. I want to finish this.
One second.
Yeah, please.
Following what Phoenix said, I think social media is the place to market and promote your content or
Yeah.
your product or your idea.
Yeah.
And if it makes money in the process of marketing and promoting your product or idea, so be it. But I don't think it should be the primary means of marketing, of monetizing your content. The money comes from it is just ancillary. Okay, thank you. I think the different windows, which we call OTTs, or the different distribution mechanisms, whether they be lean back or lean in, depending on what the technology play is, what second screen or touch screen should be is a D2C, direct to consumer method. And the more of those a content provider has, the more revenue that they can actually monetize for themselves. If they get into the MVPD space, now there's that's winner chicken dinner. But really, if I was a content provider, I would work with a Phoenix or a company like hers and try to navigate and push out my content to as many different distribution hubs globally. And if I have to work, if I get a 30% and they get 60% after it's all broken down between technology partner and this, still 30% here, 30% there, 30% there, and all these different things can aggregate into a nice bundle of cash. And I own the IP. For a content provider, I think the golden age right now is it's just in business. You never sell the cow. You only license the milk.
That's right. That's right.
Never sell the cow. The cow is the asset. Licensing it through all these different distribution hubs is how you aggregate and make money. And then you use social media as a play to bring awareness and eyeballs and point it to whatever channels it's being distributed.
Exactly. Which is my business. So we take American Idol, the show goes on there, we chop it up to a million pieces, we put it on Facebook. We're not there to make money on Facebook. It's like, yeah, cool, we make a few dollars. It's nothing in the TV world. But what we're doing is we're driving tune-in, or we're driving them to ABC to be served another ad. And that translates for networks, but also translates for any product. Like, you want me to go buy your sweater? I'm going to make all this cool content, but the whole point is to get you off of it, buy a sweater.
Yep.
I mean, and on the flip side, there are companies, the Real World got kicked off of MTV, and now it's on Facebook Watch or Live. What is it?
I don't watch Facebook.
Neither do
Watch, so
I.
I have no idea.
But it's on there, and they're figuring out building an audience, trying to leverage the global, scaling down their production size budget. So they actually went backwards.
Interesting.
Bun and Murray.
But never forget at the end of the day that these are the new oil companies. They have all the money in the world, and if they want it, if they decide they want to do it, they'll do it. And they'll probably be good at it, and they'll probably. And it's a free market, so whatever YouTube's offering a content creator for a CPM, they might up it. Never count the big four out.
And guaranteed, the Real World, as soon as they build enough audience on
Yes.
Facebook, they're going back to television.
Yeah. Yeah, Viacom
so-
were like, yes,
so-
we want you.
We had a
Thanks to
question
the
back-
media buyers, by the way.
Yes, yes.
We had a question back there.
They have too much power.
I'm Lydia Milano. When you mentioned snackable content that people can binge watch, so short form, what is a good minute amount to go for? And also, can you give me an idea of what platforms are best? Because I know there's so many different ways to do it, and I love that you guys are telling me about social media, just the distribution. But where would you start with your short form?
So what's the appropriate time frame for a show? And
What's the content, though? You have to pitch a show first before you even start to think about it.
Is it 10 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes?
Right now I do a podcast, but I also went to film school, so I'm going to start producing short little shows. I have like a whole bunch. I don't want to start pitching all of them right now. But I just want to know like where my focus should be, like how many minutes.
Well, I'd say as many as it doesn't get boring.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh,
well, if you do a 24-minute show, that means you can put 5 30-second ads and have a 30-minute show. So you got to think about it. I tell my clients to think about it
Put
that
more
way.
ads in it. There.
How
Yeah.
long are you thinking?
Yeah.
That's
For snackable, right now I also do stand-up. I do 1 minute sketches on social media. And we bring 5 minutes down to 1 minute because people have short attention spans. So I just want to know, do I keep
They have short attention spans on certain mobile platforms.
Exactly, yeah.
If you're thinking about OTT, it's going to be a different viewable
That's
experience.
what I'm asking you. What kind of minutes should I be aiming for?
if you're going to OTT, you should be doing 22 minutes.
Okay.
Series, think of it as a series episodic. And you should be thinking about, if you can do longer and cut it up, it still should be at about 22 minutes minimum in terms of like thinking about it from that perspective. And they're looking for serial, not just one piece. So,
And I've done thousands of these stand-up things. So my advice to you, if you're going to do a 22-minute, probably break it up into two comedians. That seems
Yeah.
to work better. And the 1 minutes play online really well. You got to add the text and you got to add graphics, and it will rise to the top.
Yeah.
On the social part.
On the social,
On
On the
social
social part, not the
right.
OTT.
because audio's off to begin with, and people need to know what they're watching, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I mean, I don't.
I'm sorry, for long form, what do you suggest time-wise? You
Think
said
of features or series or television series.
90
So,
minutes.
yeah, think of a feature film.
120.
Yeah, think of feature film, 90, 120, and think about episodic serial content and how many minutes, and that's obviously with the ad breaks that are going to happen.
22, you said 22. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to think like any other product. What does your buyer want? Ask them. There are mandates out there from networks. They'll tell you what they want, what they're looking for.
And I think your last question to us was, what do we see the future
Right.
as, right? And I love that you said it's just going back to business as usual. When you look at cable, there's 3,000 channels on cable now? Is that? I personally believe, and this is what we believe in our company, is that we're looking at probably a 3,000 world app universe. When it all shakes down, it's going to be like cable again. It's going to be a bunch of apps. It's probably going to be upwards of maybe 3,000 or channels, and that's and everybody's going to want to figure out how they can partner and get their content in as many places, and we're just going to be doing business like usual.
That's why I think the OTT panel won't even exist. It'll just be like, the network
It's going to
panel.
be the network panel.
Yeah.
The network
Eventually.
panel.
The reason why I love cable and satellite television is because media buyers love cable
Facts.
and satellite. Media buyers walk up to you, and it's not even a question of what they're going to spend. They have budgets from their brands, Procter & Gamble, General Mills, Unilever, millions of dollars, and they have to put their money somewhere to pretend that we're doing something over here. We're moving,
Exactly.
we're moving
Exactly.
quickly. What is it? What is it? The jazz fingers. We're moving here. We're moving here. And they don't. It's like, okay, they're moving here. Come on. Yes. Yes.
Okay, we had a question.
It's
for you.
wild.
It is.
So,
Great panel, you guys, thank you so much. Streaming and OTT and advertising dollars, like just live streaming, how do you see that being able to maximize that? Because my shows that I want to create, I just run into all the money with editing and the time,
You're talking about live or live linear?
live linear.
Okay, so live linear, there's a lot of money in live linear because it's
And
24-hour
I'm
play
trying-
out.
Any advice in that space, because that's kind of,
Well,
It's
you
hard.
want to be able to syndicate to
Partnerships.
places like Zumo. Zumo is a live linear platform. Pluto has live linear. So when you think about Twitch is live linear. So you want to be able to get your content into platforms like that and not so much worry. Eventually, you may want to launch your own OTT channel, but to start, I would just go and find all the linear channels that are out there or platforms that are out there and get your content there so you can monetize it because they already have the technology and the means to take it and linearize it for you so that you don't have to worry about linearizing it. You can give them a bunch of VOD assets and they will string it together and linearize it for you. Because
like a Bolden, like platforms like that, like Sling, those.
yeah, generally
have
they
30, like I can do Bolden, I can go to like 30 platforms at once to upload, right?
I'm not sure about Bolden.
Yeah, so you can switchboard to do that. But don't forget, live TV is very, very hard, right? Like, there's the same group of people in Hollywood who do everything, the Oscars, the Grammys, and they're the best, and they train for years and years because it's really hard. It has to be planned so meticulously. Otherwise, you're just going to be talking to the screen, and that's a...
Yeah, I know. We
He knows. He's about to do a big one.
We do a lot of live productions, and it has to be. It takes a lot of work and a lot of practice to do it really well, because you only get one shot.
Yep.
But then you're doing all your brand integrations and stuff live, so that helps.
Well, you have those relationships already worked out
Right.
in advance.
But the thing is, you're doing it just to cut production costs, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea.
It doesn't cut production costs. It actually
Yeah.
increases it a lot in some ways. I mean, yeah, because you have to plan it out. I mean, you still plan all your bumpers, all your graphics are all done ahead of time, and you do that, and you've got to over-plan because you
Something's
don't,
gonna go wrong.
you don't know what's going to happen, and sometimes things happen, and you need to react quickly on things.
Unless you're using a platform like Amagi that already
Unless you're using a
has-
platform like mine.
Amagi's amazing. It has all of the lower thirds, the bumpers, all the stuff, all. So it's literally they came from cable. So when they built their linear platform, like they're a linear platform, so you can get an account with them, put your content in there, and linearize it, and you can actually create all of the bumpers, lower thirds, all of the things, even add backgrounds. So like you could add an Oreo background in behind your video. So it's Amagi, Magami, Amagi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
MAGAMI.
Amagi. Yeah, they're an amazing linear platform.
I'm on Twitch, so if I
And they
don't-
can they can get you to switch. Like they're like how I am an OTT operator and will launch your OTT channels and syndicate you. They are a linear platform that you can get your own dashboard, upload all your content into, create all of your ad rolls, your bumpers, your logos, your backgrounds, all the things that most people have to do in post. You can do it all inside of Amagi, and then you can now deliver it to whoever you want to deliver it to. So go look at Amagi. They're really, really great.
Pro tip though, go live for a reason to be live. Like you have some sort of audience participation, or so people can interact. If you
Or to bring them to your platform. A lot
But
of
isn't
people
that
do
live versus live linear? Live linear is cable programming. Like it's basically, you turn on the TV and you're watching the programming wherever everyone else is watching it versus live.
I got you. I thought you were saying live streaming.
No, live
like an
is
event.
really great for sports.
Gotcha.
It's amazing for sports. Great for pay-per-view.
I help artists singing platform, so it's like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm long on as far as the future, sports and gambling.
Oh, well, what's what they're doing on the gambling
Huge,
side, yeah.
huge gambling and anything attached to the blockchain. Yeah, but sports.
And that includes esports, which is the newest, biggest platform
yes,
out there.
They built something here in the valley.
2016, esports was $655 million. Last year it was $900 million. This year it's over $1 billion industry. So esports is growing big, and we're getting into that. So.
Yeah, I mean
That's live stream then.
Well, that's
live.
That's live stream, but it's also live linear too, because a lot of the platforms and the broadcasters are getting into doing that too. So it's actually both.
Murdoch, when he just got rid of his assets to Disney, that's what he just announced. They kept the sports and got rid of everything else because the sports makes the most money from television. Most people don't know that. So in the cable and satellite world, the content provider, ESPN or whoever, they would get paid the largest amount per subscriber, plus they get a lot of money from the ads, and so and now those content providers are launching their own apps, which are squeezing out the MVPDs for revenue because they're losing subscribers to people who have the apps directly. So, but yeah, sports, gambling, esports, because they're happening in real time, and it's kind of like, do you want to watch a rerun of a reality show? No, you want to see it the first time it happens. Almost not live.
We had one more question back there.
Yeah. So it was mentioned the Lyft partnership with Kevin Hart. So I'm just curious, if you've approached brands with the perspective of creating original content, knowing that brands typically allocate their budget toward buying eyeballs and impressions, how do you then translate the value and potential return with that brand investing in production?
You know.
Yeah, you partner up with a network, production company, network relationship.
Or you.
OTT network.
Yeah, OTT network, or you're launching your own, like, I have a friend who, but she's former chief CMO of like every major brand. So she decided she was launching her own OTT network, and before she launched it, she's like, I'm gonna go create content, and I'm gonna call influencers, and I'm gonna put them in the content, and the brands are gonna pay me to do that. And that's what she did. And now she's gonna turn around and launch an OTT network with all the content that the brands paid for.
And there are some brave brands out there like Topgolf who would just fund their own show. It was kind of like American Idol show.
Yeah.
And they just did it themselves.
Beauty's
Put it out.
that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Beauty and cannabis.
Cannabis is a little hard still because there's not a lot of advertisers that want to go against cannabis inside of the platforms. You'd be surprised. But beauty, yes.
Oh yeah, do you guys have any experience with cannabis? I'm having a lot of trouble now because I can't use paid social
I
to
know.
promote it.
I know.
Yeah, so
It's-
you might get a lot of dollars, huh?
Do we have any experience with cannabis?
I mean, we all have experience with cannabis.
So I run the 420 network.
That's my wine.
Oh, no way.
Yes. And the 420 network just got picked up on Comcast.
Congrats.
To be the first cannabis and hemp nationwide broadcast platform. We have about 2,500 different brands in that space lined up, waving their money. So that's not a problem.
Well, you're lucky. I mean, a year ago, most cannabis brands who were trying to launch on Roku were not, I mean, we've dealt with all the advertisers in the programmatic world and in the direct buy world. They weren't touching it.
Well, I think the whole
brand new
industry
world.
is changing with competition.
And then today, I think in California, they passed some type of bill where credit unions, the feds at the federal level just passed a law that in California they're giving out certain licenses to certain banks in California to do commerce, cannabis commerce. It just happened today.
You don't like the briefcases of cash?
I'm good.
All right.
Maybe that's how Trump will get elected. He'll legalize cannabis.
It's already kind of legalized.
Trump's getting rearelected.
Yeah,
we gave that away a long time
Oh wow,
ago.
this panel.
All right, let's not go there. Okay, all right, on that, I wanted to introduce myself because I didn't do it at the beginning. I'm Jeff Stansfield from Advantage Video Systems. We're a big systems integration company. We build studios, production studios, we do live event systems, and we do all that. We recently launched a new platform called Esports Circus, where it's a traveling esports venue that's going to go all over the nation, connecting with colleges and doing esports teams and doing all that stuff. So check out esportscircus.com for more information on that, or advantagevideosystems.com to find out more about the services that we offer for production and post-production. I want to thank my panel for again coming up and being very interesting and very, very, very informative. And thank my audience. Thank you guys very much for coming to Digital Hollywood. Yeah, for the Skirball Center. And we'll thank you guys all and see you guys all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, so you were saying that the cost of your platform?
A little bit, not majorly.
Ben,
So-
nice to meet you.
The people at Brightco.
Thank you. Oh, for working?
Yeah.
Just like hiring.
Yeah.
My company's pretty small. These guys have big.